They say that pride comes before a fall, but pride can also come after a fall if it was a particularly cool fall that didn't actually hurt.
Here you go. That looked nasty.
I told you, I meant to do it! That's better. Anyway, a place where pride definitely can come before a fall is in games. Like when you encounter a boss who looks easy and unintimidating, who then transforms into something you would have sooner not picked a fight with. Consider these 7 bosses who did exactly that. Enjoy, and beware spoilers ahead for the following games.
So tell me again, what happened?
I told you, Jane, I was doing a backflip, and I decided to invent a new kind of backflip where you only go halfway. It's the I call it the half flip.
The Andy half flip.
Yeah, the Andy half flip. Everyone's going to be doing it soon, and you'll be like, oh, I wish I'd...
How's your neck?
It's fine. I told you it's supposed to be at this angle.
Are you proud of yourself?
I am proud of what you wait. You on YouTube, everyone will be doing the half flip in 6 months' time. It's going to be the new thing. It's going to be the new floss.
Oh, she's so young.
Yeah, how's our other guest?
Sleeping, poor thing.
Well, I say let him. He'll be okay here for a few days, leastwise till we can get him into town.
Zoe, go get some fresh clothes from the laundry room, okay?
In Resident Evil 7, you find yourself at the mercy of the Baker family, a group of folks who are, ironically, extremely bad at baking, judging by the state of the rest of their cooking.
Come here, boy. Let's do this.
Tentacly. Each of the bakers is a nasty piece of work in their own way, but it might have comforted you to know ahead of time that the final boss isn't the baker matriarch Marguerite, who is part woman, part beehive.
Now with me, we're gonna settle this!
Nor is it wayward son Lucas, who has a thing for cruel and unusual pranks.
I'm calling the game. I'd really like to make it out of this room alive and not die a horrible, painful death. I know, it's a temp title.
And it's not even patriarch Jack Baker, who is usually either on fire or brandishing a chainsaw.
What's the matter? You out of soup?
Instead, the final enemy you'll be facing is Eveline. Eveline, you remember, is the insensible old woman you find parked in a wheelchair at various points around the Baker family plantation. Given that by the end of Resident Evil 7 you're armed with enough pistols, shotguns and flamethrowers to reenact the finale of a Tarantino movie, you'd be forgiven for thinking this battle with an immobile old lady is going to be a pretty one-sided affair. I mean, you could probably just tip that wheelchair off a balcony and be done with it. Or set it rolling down the hill towards the bayou, let the gators sort it out.
That's horrible.
I had to eat tentacles. But that kind of overconfidence would prove to be your undoing, because it turns out that Evie here has another form. That's right, a small child.
You're gonna be one of us. And then maybe you'll play nicely.
Yeah, I'm sticking with the gator plan. Or I would do if Eveline didn't have a third and final form, which is a giant horrifying mold monster ripped straight from a janitor's nightmares. You might be wondering how you're even supposed to go about fighting this thing when it's pissed off, impervious to regular weapons, and the size of a Pizza Hut.
You're just a little boy.
But you're forgetting that this is a Resident Evil game, and as such, someone will be along any second to throw you the exact weapon you need to defeat it.
Use it!
Playtime's over.
Ah, there we go. Still, a little warning next time, Resident Evil, jeez.
What are you doing in there?
Oh, thank God! Look, someone has to watch this object at all times, or it deviates. My shift replacement never showed up. Can you help me?
Of all the kitchen appliances, the fridge is our favourite. That's where the food lives. So imagine our surprise and dismay to discover, deep inside the Federal Bureau of Control, in Remedy's control, a fridge that had turned to evil. We always thought the kettle would be the one to turn. The fridge in question is what is known in Control as an altered item, and it needs someone to constantly be looking at it, or else it will deviate, a term which here we can assume means something extremely bad.
Look away. I don't know what this thing will do. You have to get me out of here.
Of course, with us in charge of things now as the new director of the FBC, we're not going to stand for any evil fridges terrorizing our staff. So, full of the kind of confidence that only comes from having a magic gun and the power to psychically hurl chunks of masonry, we head over to give this fridge a stern talking to, and then, if that doesn't work, a hail of gunfire. It's a tough management style, but productivity's never been higher. Anyway, the first sign that this fridge might be more trouble than it initially appears is the fact that, once you've got the door to its containment cell unlocked, the guy posted inside to keep an eye on it is turned almost immediately into a red smear that probably won't be attending the company picnic this year.
If I look away, it hurts me.
Touching the fridge at this point transports us to the astral plane, where it becomes quickly apparent that the fridge was in fact host to an interdimensional creature called the Former. And the Former is a kind of spider-legged searchlight monster that can fire exploding balls out of its face. To be honest, that would explain why the milk keeps going off. This is a much tougher boss fight than we were anticipating when it first became clear we were going to have a fight with a fridge. And who knows what kind of horrifying monstrosities the other appliances are hiding. I've got my eye on you, buddy.
There's a reason that the Joker is Batman's most iconic arch-nemesis. He and the Dark Knight are two sides of the same coin. They're anarchy and chaos versus discipline and order. The Joker isn't a physically imposing figure, but the psychological threat he poses to Batman is incalculable.
He surrendered almost without a fight. I don't like it.
He's also just got some really solid jokes.
The joke's on you.
Classic. With that in mind, the Joker works best as a villain when he keeps Batman at arm's length, because if Batman gets close enough, he will use those arms to punch Joker in the face. By the end of Batman Arkham Asylum, having spent the whole game chasing Joker and trying to get close enough to take him down, you'll be anticipating a well-earned, one-sided beatdown.
Nicely done, Bats. You deserve a prize.
After all, up to this point we've had to fight Bane, Zsasz, Killer Croc, and about 300 powerlifting inmates. How much trouble are we going to have squaring off against a failed stand-up comedian who weighs 90 pounds wet?
I have nothing to live for.
Quite a lot, it turns out, because just before things kick off, Joker injects himself with Titan Formula. That's the experimental chemical based on the stuff that makes Bane massive and which transforms Joker from a spindly weakling into a Resident Evil boss with a mohawk.
Showtime, Batman!
It seems to me that the world's greatest detective would deduce that having a fist fight with a giant mohawk monster made of insanity and steroids was a bad idea, and come back later in the Batwing to shoot everyone with machine guns. But I guess we're in it now.
You wasted the antidote on yourself? Now that's funny!
At least that's Joker defeated forever. 2 more games and a prequel.
Now, I'm not much of a fighter, but even I reckon I could take a flower in a fight. Most flowers. Maybe not one of those really big sunflowers. Situations like that, you just throw your wallet and run. So, once it became clear that the main villain of Undertale was a flower, the imaginatively named Flowey, I, for one, eagerly awaited our inevitable confrontation. I mean, I know I'm just a weird-looking kid armed with the power of friendship, but even so, that's going to be a pretty one-sided fight. Just boot him in the petals, kick his stamen right off, stamp on his middle bit. I'm all out of flower anatomy. Your first sign that things maybe aren't going to go the way you expected is when you try to save the game and your precious save gets erased and then someone smashes a hole in the screen. And oh hey, here's Flowey, although he seems bigger than usual. And was he always manically vibrating like that? And oh good, he's eaten a bunch of human souls? Even better, it was Flowey who erased your save game, and he's going to save over it with your death, so you can endlessly repeat it, and man, this is some real nightmare fuel, not gonna lie. That's not even the worst of it, because here comes Flowey in his new form, Photoshop Flowey, who is a shuddering, crawling, hairy monstrosity with a horrible gnashing beak, tentacles, paws, way too many eyes, human teeth, a TV? I know how it is. I too got overexcited when I first learned how to use Photoshop. Flowey then subjects you to a bullet-hell nightmare of vines, flamethrowers, machine guns and lasers that, if we're honest, had we known about prior to the fight, we might have negotiated our surrender. Oh hey, and he is reloading our death over and over so we can endlessly repeat it. Say what you will about Flowey, but he's a flower of his word. You gotta respect that. I like those sunflowers. No honor.
Did you truly feign it all? That which bound us was a ruse?
Dettlaff, it's not that simple.
Oh no, it's very simple. You either deceived me or not.
Dettlaff is the main antagonist from Blood and Wine, which is an expansion for The Witcher 3 and 2 stains that are really hard to get out of a white t-shirt. It turns out that Dettlaff has been on a brutal murderous spree across Beauclair, earning him the name the Beast of Beauclair.
I saw a head bobbing, eyes bulging, the tongue blew and popped out. Next to it, a hand rocking upon the water.
Man, I hope none of his victims were wearing a white t-shirt. When you finally catch up with the Beast of Beauclair, however, he's far less threatening than the sort of monsters Geralt is accustomed to killing. Instead of a 30-foot-tall troll or something, Dettlaff is a well-dressed, well-spoken gentleman. He's the sort of guy who's less likely to do you direct physical harm and more the sort who would embezzle money from your pension plan or something.
I wonder what a monster might have to say to you.
It might want to apologize.
My word. What might a monster wish to apologize to a witcher?
For killing. Though at times there is no choice, when loved ones are at risk and require protection.
So with you being Geralt, the supernaturally powerful witcher, you're likely to feel pretty cocky at this point. But it turns out that Dettlaff is a so-called higher vampire. And although higher vampires sounds like a new stoner horror comedy coming this fall, in the world of The Witcher, these are the nastiest, most powerful vamps around, and a manicurist's nightmare.
You'll not get the chance.
There's not enough shellac in the whole world. Horrifying, yes, but you still might be thinking this bat-faced creep will be a manageable opponent. Well, prepare to choke on your hubris, because when you face Dettlaff again at the end of the game, he transforms once more, this time into what looks like the chestburster from Alien as reimagined for a Slayer album cover. At least Geralt's wearing dark colours. Smart guy.
Azoth is the essence of life. We alchemists have the ability to convert it into power. We can live forever. Your Azoth, Fiona, belongs to me.
Remember that bit in Resident Evil 4 where you free a dog from a trap and then later on it comes back and helps you in a boss fight?
Hey, it's that dog.
Haunting Ground for the PS2 is basically that, but an entire game. You play as Fiona, a young woman who wakes up after a car accident to find herself imprisoned in a spooky old castle.
Wait a minute. I remember being in the car with...
Soon enough, you're joined by the aforementioned dog, a white German shepherd called Huey, and you must team up to escape the castle, avoiding and occasionally fighting various twisted and menacing enemies along the way. The final boss of the game, however, is an old man called Lorenzo, who you thought was helping you, but who actually turns out to be the villain of the piece. Also, he wants to kill you so he can become immortal. Also, I'm not sure he ever learned how to laugh properly. No, it's more like ha 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 ha. Okay, getting colder. Still, Lorenzo is extremely old, and as such, when it comes time to actually fight him, all he's able to do is crawl towards you, having long ago lost the use of his legs. But don't let that stop you crushing him in an industrial rock crusher. Better safe than sorry. That was a pretty easy final boss, you might be thinking, if you haven't watched any of the previous 5 entries in this video. If you have watched those, you can probably guess what's coming next. That's right, it's Lorenzo, and he's back! Only now he's young and basically invincible and has magic punches and can teleport. Also, he kicks the dog, and we definitely didn't sign up for that. What we did sign up for was pushing old men into rock crushers. We were very clear on the subject. Anyway, if you and Huey persevere, you can lure Lorenzo into the lava pit in the middle of the room. Now he's dead for sure, you might be thinking. And you'd be right. Except for the brief time he comes back as a non-fire skeleton. This skeleton Lorenzo can kill you with a single hit if he touches you, which, as escalating a situation goes, is pretty much checkmate. What did we do to deserve this? I mean, apart from pushing an old man into a rock crusher. Yeah, it was probably that, wasn't it? No, it's more like, ha ha, never mind.
When we think of vicars, we think of church garden parties, being bored at Sunday school, and tea and cake in the vicarage parlour. So you can imagine our sense of relief as we approached Vicar Amelia in Bloodborne after the harrowing time we'd had reaching the Grand Cathedral. Surely she'll offer us a cup of tea and a Bakewell slice, we thought, stupidly. Because Vicar Amelia looks anything but dangerous when you find her knelt in quiet prayer. She's probably the least terrifying thing you've seen in the game so far, and I'm sure there's nothing suspicious at all about this large boss fight-sized room she's waiting in. Approach Vicar Amelia to perhaps ask for directions to the nearest exit from this accursed Hell City though, and she'll transform gorily into a sort of massive and monstery Afghan hound. In beast form, Amelia is a hairy nightmare, leaping around the cathedral and clawing you to bloody ribbons, which never happened at any of the vicarage garden parties I went to. I'm beginning to think we're not going to get that Bakewell slice.
Ah, feels good. It's the good feeling of the half flip. For more information on the half flip, you can visit the website I'm going to make soon. I'll let you know when I've got a URL. But go to the Gymnastics Association website and they'll tell you how to do it. What you do is just half a backflip. It's pretty self-explanatory. Anyway, I'm here to tell you about more videos. Here's one. It's about the ways that games explained away their video game mechanics with cool in-universe explanations. And down here is a video from Outside Extra, which is about bosses that you killed from the inside out. So imagine that. Horrible, sounds like. Anyway, see you next time and enjoy half flips, but don't actually, I should probably say don't actually do them, they're dangerous.